The long anticipated fight between Luffy and Arlong is in full swing in this episode, and it is my favourite fight so far for so many reasons, so let's talk about it. First things first, the way Arlong actually fights is exactly how I would expect him to. And what I mean by that is his design is like catered towards his fighting style. You know, he is a shark person pretty much, and he fights like a shark person. Do you know what I mean? Like, he fights using his jaws is one of his strongest weapons. His really pointy like shark nose he uses at one point as like a torpedo thing to sort of try to impale Luffy. The fact he regrows his teeth, and because his jaw's so strong, he can use it, but Luffy can't. There's a funny part where Luffy sort of steals Arlong's teeth because he can regrow them, and he tries to bite Arlong, and it does basically no damage because Luffy's jaws aren't as strong as Arlong's. So I think it's great the way that it's done this. Like in some other shows, if Arlong was like a shark person, that might have just been it. You know, when he was fighting, he might have just been a shark person that just was good at martial arts or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But in this, he fights like a shark. Like, he fights underwater. He uses all his weapons like that. Like I said, his jaws are terrifying. They could cut through anything. They could cut through bone. They could break bones, crush pillars, all that sort of stuff. Like, just watching Arlong actually fight Luffy is really scary, and like I said, it's just how you would sort of expect him to fight. But Luffy's utility and his versatility in the way that he fights is on full display in this fight as well. The way he defends against some of these attacks, like the fishnet into like the drill combo thing that he did on Arlong, was nasty as fuck. Like I said earlier, him using Arlong's teeth to fight him, I thought was great. That also shows like Luffy, he's still, even though he is like, he can be brutal and he's very smart when it comes to battle, he's also goofy. Like, he just is. But that's one of the best things about his character. Like, he is, when he wants to get serious, he's scary. And when he does get serious, it is extra scary, because a lot of the times he is silly and he just sort of like, it looks like he's playing around. So when he's actually angry and he's actually like proper fighting, it has a huge impact. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when he initially broke Arlong's teeth, I thought that was genius. Obviously, he didn't know about them regrowing, but he took away Arlong's biggest weapon. Well, he thought straight away. Also, he was using swords as sort of like a distraction. And he even said to him, "I don't know how to use swords, you bastard." And then he punched him straight in the teeth, which I thought was great. And near the end of this episode, where Arlong's getting a bit frustrated, his eyes turn absolutely bloodshot red, like he smells blood. And Nami says she's never seen him like that before. And he brings out this insane like shark sword, this massive blade, and he starts swinging at Luffy. And even that sword is like designed specifically for him, and it's very intimidating. Do you know what I mean? I think Zoro would be proud of that. But besides the actual physical fight itself, the reason I'm loving this fight so much is the interactions between the characters and what this fight means in the greater scheme of things, and even the littler moments. Like, I love when Arlong is basically ranting to Luffy about the fishmen being a superior species to humans, and how Luffy's crew must be embarrassed that they have such a useless captain. Luffy says, "Unlike you, I know I can't live without help." And we don't just hear it, we sort of see it, you know, throughout this fight. Arlong, although he did have his friends, or not his friends, I guess, his family, fighting for him, with Luffy, he literally needed his friends to save him, you know, to save him from drowning. While Arlong is, this whole time, he could have taken out all of them by himself. Like, realistically, you know, he could have. The way he sort of could destroy Zoro and Sanji and everything like that. But we saw Luffy literally needed his friends to help him. And that's not a weakness. Do you know what I mean? Just having like your crew and having friends to help you doesn't make you weak. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's great that Luffy actually recognizes this, that he couldn't do it alone, but, you know, Arlong thinks he can, and that will probably be his downfall. And the consequences for either outcome of this fight is huge. You know, if Luffy beats Arlong, he saved Kokoyashi Village. He saved essentially the East Blue, which Arlong would definitely take over eventually. He saved Nami from this horrible situation that she's been stuck in for the last 8 years. And it would also be a huge step towards Luffy becoming King of the Pirates, you know, actually defeating this creature from the Grand Line and sort of proving that, you know, he is as strong and determined as he always says he is. And then, of course, if Arlong wins, it's the opposite. Everybody in Kokoyashi Village dies except for Nami, who will be ruled under him for God knows how long, forever. East Blue will be completely taken over, and then Luffy's dream of becoming the king of the pirates stops there, and he is killed too. So the consequences, like I said, are huge. And to top it all off, at the end of this episode, Arlong, while he's chasing Luffy with this sword, they end up breaking through into Arlong's building, and they happen to fall straight through into Nami's room. And it has all of her sea charts, all the work she's been forced to do over the past 8 years for Arlong. And I believe this is the first bit of context Luffy's actually gotten as to what Arlong has been doing to Nami, what she's been going through. He wasn't interested in hearing Nojiko speak about Nami, you know, he just went straight to her, and he's fighting because Arlong made her cry, you know, and he made her upset. That's literally it. So the fact that he's getting this context now, I think could be very interesting, his reaction to it. And just to show how insanely deluded Arlong actually is, he's still calling Nami his friend. Now, I don't know whether or not he actually believes that, or he's just saying it to wind Luffy up, or what, or Arlong doesn't understand what the concept of a friend is. But I think Arlong basically looks at people that are his friends in terms of their usefulness, if that makes sense. And Nami is incredibly useful to him. You know, he says how important it is for him to be able to chart all the seas, and he can't let her go. Do you know what I mean? He refuses. He's gone through so many hoops to try and keep Nami, no matter what. But I love Luffy's response in simply saying, she's our navigator. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's ours. She's not yours. She's basically that's Luffy's way of saying she's our friend, because to him, Luffy, that his crew are his friends. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting seeing those two different perspectives, those two different types of characters talk about the same person in such different ways, but also the same, if that makes sense. But yeah, that was this episode. This is my favorite fight so far for sure. I'm absolutely loving it. I seem to say that a lot, but like I said, for all the reasons I listed in this video and more I've probably forgotten, this fight is amazing, and I can't wait to see the conclusion. So let's do it.